When Ali Baba took these measures to prevent the public from knowing how he came by his riches in so short a time, the captain of the 40 robbers returned to the forest with inconceivable mortification, and in his confusion at his ill success, so contrary to what he had promised himself, entered the cave, not being able all the way from the town to come to any resolution how to revenge himself of Ali Baba. The loneliness of the gloomy cavern became frightful to him. "Where are you, my brave lads?" cried he. "Old companions of my watchings, inroads and labour, what can I do without you? Did I collect you only to lose you by so base a fate, and so unworthy of your courage? Had you died with your sabres in your hands like brave men, my regret had been less. When shall I enlist so gallant a troop again? And if I could, can I undertake it without exposing so much gold and treasure to him who hath already enriched himself out of it? I cannot, I ought not to think of it, before I have taken away his life. I will undertake that alone which I could not accomplish with your powerful assistance. And when I have taken measures to secure this treasure from being pillaged, I provide for it new masters and successors after me, who shall preserve and augment it to all posterity." This resolution being taken, he was not at a loss how to execute his purpose, but full of hopes, he slept all that night very quietly. When he awoke early next morning, he dressed himself, agreeably to the project he had formed, went to the town, and took a lodging in a khan. As he expected what had happened to Ali Baba's might make a great noise, he asked his host what news there was in the city, upon which the innkeeper told him a great many circumstances which did not concern him in the least. He judged by this that the reason why Ali Baba kept his affairs so secret was for fear people should know where the treasure lay, and because he knew his life would be sought out on account of it. This urged him the more to neglect nothing to rid himself of so cautious an enemy. The captain now assumed the character of a merchant, and conveyed gradually a great many sorts of rich stuffs and fine linen to his lodgings from the cavern, but with all the necessary precautions imaginable to conceal the place whence he brought them. In order to dispose of the merchandise, when he had massed them together, he took a warehouse, which happened to be opposite to Qasim's, which Ali Baba's son had occupied since the death of his uncle. He took the name of Khaujeh Hussein, and as a newcomer was, according to custom, extremely civil and complaisant to all the merchants his neighbours. Ali Baba's son was, from his vicinity, one of the first to converse with Khaujeh Hussein, who strove to cultivate his friendship more particularly when, 2 or 3 days after he was settled, he recognized Ali Baba, who came to see his son and stopped to talk with him as he was accustomed to do. When he was gone, the impostor learned from his son who he was. He increased his assiduities, caressed him in the most engaging manner, made him some small presents, and often asked him to dine and sup with him. Ali Baba's son did not choose to lie under such obligation to Khaujeh Hussein without making the like return, but he was so much straitened for want of room in his house that he could not entertain him so well as he wished. He therefore acquainted his father, Ali Baba, with his intention, and told him that it did not look well for him to receive such favours from Khaujeh Hussein without inviting him in return. Ali Baba with great pleasure took the treat upon himself. "Son," said he, "tomorrow being Friday, which is a day that the shops of such great merchants as Khaujeh Hussein and yourself are shut, get him to take a walk with you, and as you come back, pass by my door and call in. It will look better to have it happen accidentally than if you gave him a formal invitation. I will go and order Morgiana to provide a supper." The next day Ali Baba's son and Khaujeh Hussein met by appointment, took their walk, and as they returned, Ali Baba's son led Khaujeh Hussein through the street where his father lived, and when they came to the house, stopped and knocked at the door. "This, sir," said he, is my father's house, who from the account I have given him of your friendship charged me to procure him the honour of your acquaintance." It was the sole aim of Khwaja Hussain to introduce himself into Ali Baba's house that he might kill him without hazarding his own life or making any noise. Yet he excused himself and offered to take his leave. But a slave having opened the door, Ali Baba's son took him obligingly by the hand and in a manner forced him in. Ali Baba received Khwaja Hussain with a smiling countenance and in the most obliging manner. He thanked him for all the favours he had done his son, adding withal the obligation was greater as he was a young man not much acquainted with the world. Khwaja Hussain returned the compliment by assuring Ali Baba that though his son might not have acquired the experience of older men, he had good sense equal to the knowledge of many others. After a little more conversation on different subjects, he offered again to take his leave, when Ali Baba, stopping him, said, "Why are you going, sir, in so much haste? I beg you would do me the honour to sup with me, though what I have to give you is not worth your acceptance. But such as it is, I hope you'll accept it heartily as I give it." "Sir," replied Khwaja Hussain, "I am thoroughly persuaded of your goodwill, and if I ask the favour of you not to take it ill that I do not accept your obliging invitation, I beg of you to believe that it does not proceed from any slight or intention to affront, but from a reason which you would approve if you knew." "And what may that reason be, sir?" replied Ali Baba, "if I may be so bold as to ask you?" "It is," answered Khwaja Hussain, "that I can eat no victuals that have any salt in them. Therefore judge how I should feel at your table." "If that is the only reason," said Ali Baba, "it ought not to deprive me of the honour of your company at supper. For, in the first place, there is no salt ever put into my bread, and as to the meat we shall have tonight, I promise you there shall be none in that. Therefore you must do me the favour to stay. I'll return immediately." Ali Baba went into the kitchen and ordered Morgiana to put no salt to the meat that was to be dressed that night, and to make quickly 2 or 3 ragouts besides what he had ordered, but be sure to put no salt in them. Morgiana, who was always ready to obey her master, could not help seeming somewhat dissatisfied at this strange order. "Who is this difficult man," said she, "who eats no salt with his meat? Your supper will be spoiled if I keep it back so long." "Do not be angry, Morgiana," replied Ali Baba. "He is an honest man. Therefore do as I bid you." Morgiana obeyed, though with no little reluctance, and had a curiosity to see this man who ate no salt. To this end, when she had finished what she had to do in the kitchen, she helped Abdullah to carry up the dishes, and looking at Khwaja Hussain knew him at first sight, notwithstanding his disguise, to be the captain of the robbers, and examining him very carefully, perceived that he had a dagger under his garment. "I am not in the least amazed," she said to herself, "that this wicked wretch, who is my master's greatest enemy, would eat no salt with him, since he intends to assassinate him. But I will prevent him."